So we've now seen how we can name a single cell using our name box. There are, however, several ways we can create named ranges, and each of them has their own advantage. So we're going to look at creating named ranges now in a bit more detail. Uma has been asked to generate some stats from her HR database. This will be much easier for her if she can name each of the columns. Let's start with our employee ID. So I'm going to click on A4 and then good shortcut key, Control, Shift, down arrow to select all the data till you hit a blank cell. Now let's recap our name box. We're going to click into the name box, type Emp ID for employee ID and click Enter. And we've now named that entire range. So that was the one method. But as promised, there are others. If you come to the Formulas tab on your ribbon, you will notice a Defined Names group. These are all the tools for working with named ranges, and you can see there are actually quite a few. Now the next tool we're going to look at is Define Name. This allows us to define name, and it has some advantages over the name box. Let's do the pension column this time. So I'm going to click into O4, and note I'm not including my heading. It's not actually part of the data. So with name box and define name, we do not click on the headings. Now once again, Control Shift down arrow, come to define name, and it's opened up the define name dialog and even worked out from the label what I probably want to call my range. So that's already great. I can also adjust the range if I need to, but both of those are kind of nice to haves. The important thing is this second one, the scope. The scope defines where this named range can be seen. By default, it can be seen throughout the entire workbook, which is great because I can refer to it even if I'm on the stats sheet. If, however, I wanted to duplicate my sheets, I'm not allowed to have duplicate named ranges, so I could choose to change my scope to only be, for example, in the staff sheet. That means I can have something called pension in staff and something called pension in stats. If you need to change your scope, it is important you do it up front, as this cannot be changed later. And that's why we use the define name. We don't actually want to change our scope, and we probably won't use this option very often. But at least you know where it is. So we're going to say OK. Now the last option is my favorite. I'm looking at this data and thinking, there's still 13 columns to name. So much for efficiency. Well, I wouldn't lie to you. Excel gives us a fabulous tool called Create from Selection. This allows us to name multiple ranges simultaneously using the labels already in the workbook. So I'm going to name each of the columns using the column headings. Too easy. Let's start by selecting our data. Now, I've already done something different. This time I have included the headings. I'm now going to press Control Shift down arrow. So I've selected all the data and the headings. We only do this with Create from Selection, and that's because it needs the headings to work out what to call the ranges. Now I come up to Create from Selection. I'm going to hover for a moment so you can see the shortcut key. Control Shift F3. What a mouthful, but it's actually worth getting to know. And then I'm going to click. Now it's asking if I want to name each of the columns using the label in the top row, or each of the rows using the label in the left column. I don't want to label my rows, so I'm going to untick that and click OK. Let's go and check our name box. Click the drop down and there are all of my new named ranges. Wasn't that quick? And if I check it out, so I'll just click on annual salary, you can see it has named the entire range but not included the heading. So to recap, we have looked at 3 ways of creating named ranges: the name box, define name, and create from selection. We only select the headings if we're using create from selection. The benefits of named ranges might not be immediately obvious, but they will become more obvious as we start using these in our formulas and functions throughout this course.